شايف هذا المحل هذا محل انتاج. هذا بقى يشتغل احسن من محل برام الله. احسن من محل برام الله. شوف برام الله. ابو عمار، ايه يا ابو عمار، ابو عمار، يا ابو عمار. سمعت بده حجة ها؟ سلم سلم. يا خشفي لا حليتي.
The construction of the West Bank barrier started in June 2002. It started with the construction of a segment north of the West Bank, which at the beginning followed pretty much the Green Line route. And after that, the construction carried on, and the first official presentation of the West Bank barrier route was presented to the public in October 2003 by the government of Israel. So October 2003 is a key date for us as humanitarian actors, when we started to realize how the planned route would develop, not only following the Green Line, but dipping quite far into the West Bank territory, basically, and grabbing quite a lot of lands which belong to the Palestinians. The West Bank barrier can take several forms. It can be a fence, or it can be 9-meter, concrete slabs, and it can be a wall. So far, a bit more than 200 kilometers have been built, constructed, and another a bit more than 70 kilometers are under construction. The total length of the planned barrier is over 600 kilometers, which will run throughout the West Bank.
was made there, was put in there in Abu Dis, it's just because of the existence of the university there. Because they know that that the adults who are the students now who are studying in this university, they are the part of this society that is well educated, and they know how everything is going on. So they want to make it hard for them to reach their university. It's just closing and separating the lands with no reasons. What safety they would take if they separate Sawahir into two parts? The people, the relatives who used to live as neighbors are now living separated with this wall. They need to go around 1 hour and a half to reach their neighbors that they used to be their neighbors before this wall. And whoever wants to pass this wall can pass it, because this land is our land. They don't know our land more than we know it. So wherever they would close these roads, however they would like to separate these cities from each others, the people will find ways to go through and to reach wherever they want. But it's just more difficult. Why are they putting soldiers on the gate? They made a gate for this wall and they put soldiers. Sometimes they are there and sometimes they are not. Why are they putting the soldiers to check our IDs as we are from Jerusalem? We have the blue IDs and they are checking our IDs and they are recording our numbers because we pass through this wall. And sometimes they say it's forbidden for you to walk from here. Why? I'm the one inside the jail. I'm the one inside this cycle. The wall itself is closing the Jerusalem around me. Wherever I want to go, I must pass checkpoints. If I want to visit my relatives in Kalandia or in Ramallah or anywhere around, I must pass the checkpoint. The checkpoint was put for me.
I have a lot of friends that live in Jerusalem and they're studying in Bethlehem University. Every day they have to pass through many checkpoints. Yani they just make a jeep, 5 soldiers, they control all of Bethlehem. All of Bethlehem, 5 soldiers with one jeep, only one jeep. They control all the situation here. They stop the buses, they stop the students, where are you going, why you are going to the university. They make them late. Most of my friends are suffering from this story. Why? Because they have, for example, the 8th lecture, we have lectures at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, all the time they are late. Why? Because if they wake up at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, okay, just to get to Bethlehem, they will keep them standing in the checkpoint waiting for their IDs till they check. And I am sure that the checking is just, when they want to check, they just take them about half an hour, not more. But when they have 5 checkpoints, 5 jeeps every time, they have to stop every time and they have to check another time and another time and another time. And that's take them maybe for more than 2 hours just to get to the university. And we have to know that from Jerusalem to here, less than half an hour. This is the point.
يا شيخ يا شيخ
بس بيحكوش مع حدا.
طيب معزلك يا شباب يا بدي يمرق الطريق هذا ارفع يشبك يشبك فوق يشبك يبدا يرفع عليك يشبك يبدا يشبك يرفع عليك.
يعني now if I want to go to Jerusalem I have to take a bus from here to the checkpoint, from the checkpoint to the wall, and I have to climb the wall. يعني I mean I have to get good clothes for that because I have to climb and I have to يعني it's heavy work, not easy just to go the wall. I'm going to Jerusalem. يعني if I want to go to Italy it's gonna be easy for me. I can just get the visa and special cab take me from here to the airport and that's it. And it's gonna take me 1 hour.
شوي يمكن
استنى يا حاج خد على يمينك خد على يمينك اطلعش خد على يمينك عن جد تفضلي كل بدك تتصوري وتصوري فيكين عربي الناس جاي ماسكين العربية نفس العربية.
In this place, these 3 villages around here that are behind the wall in the West Bank, around 60,000 are living now. 60,000 people are living. In this place there is no hospital, there is no delivery house. I mean pregnant women when they are going to deliver, they must enter Jerusalem because the hospitals just in Jerusalem, or to go to Bethlehem or to Ramallah, and it's difficult also to enter these cities, and they are very far. So many cases happened when a pregnant woman was difficult to get to the hospital, and the newborn or the fetus died at the way, because not all the people here have allowance to enter Jerusalem, and without this allowance you cannot enter Jerusalem. So if you are in this situation, you have no allowance to enter Jerusalem, there is no simple way to reach the hospital, and you have a little bit time just to do all these things. And there was many cases like that. Other cases, all the cases are around ill patients. You have no medical information, but you heard about MI, myocardial infarction. Patient with myocardial infarction must reach a hospital within 15 minutes. And this is very difficult. So any patient that develops this disease, he can die, not reaching the hospital yet.
The closure policy was officially instituted in 1993, but got intensified in 2000. And the overall closure policy, including the wall, created after 2000 the major economic crisis and social crisis among the Palestinian society. And this economic crisis has been therefore created by restrictions of movements and restricted access to basic services. In the West Bank, the closure currently consists of the barrier itself, but also over 700 different types of blockades and checkpoints, etc., and other physical obstacles across the roads. In the West Bank, the Palestinian movement is also tightly controlled through crossing points and main checkpoints. When you look at the route, projected route and constructed parts of the West Bank barrier specifically, you will see that its itinerary tangles a lot, and it englobes settlements. It isolates areas of the West Bank, and it creates what we call enclaves, for instance, which are areas totally surrounded by the wall. Or it creates also closed areas, which are these areas, comprised between the wall and the Green Line. And over 100,000 people are living in these areas, either enclaves or closed areas. The total surface of land between the barrier and the Green Line is about 65,000 hectares, which is quite a big proportion of the land. About 11.5% of the West Bank is included, is west of the barrier, if you want. Well, wherever the barrier has been constructed, the Palestinians have faced already economic hardship, from not being able to reach their land, to harvest their crops, for instance, for animals to be able to graze. Residents of certain areas have also been cut off from hospitals, schools, universities, and other services that anybody has the right to access to freely. The damage caused by the destruction of land and property for the barrier construction is somehow irreversible in a medium term. It will take a while to go around it, or to rebuild basically the infrastructure that has been damaged. It's important to notice that not only physical access is blocked, but also social networks are disrupted. Families are separated, if you want. Communities are divided by the simple presence of the barrier itself and the closure regime as a whole.
construction of the wall began a couple of years ago, and first of all, it's a political act because the Palestinians don't see any future of an independent Palestinian state. So if the wall was supposed to be a separation between Israel and the Palestinian territories, it would be on the borders of '67. But as we see the wall now taking all the lands and dividing the West Bank into into big prisons, or separating towns and villages, it's impossible this way to have an independent Palestinian state. But the daily life of the Palestinians became very difficult. Thousands of students, for example, had to change their schools because they couldn't go anymore to their schools. They have to choose the nearest school and not the school they want. The same thing for hospitals also, or for workplace. So a lot of people will change their work if they find any in their own towns and villages, but it became impossible to move, to go to work or to school or to hospitals or to any center. Now the wall separates Jerusalem, and it's impossible for Palestinians except with a special permission from the military governor, Israeli military governor, who gives them permits. Otherwise, they cannot go to Jerusalem. I know several people who are really sick and who had in the past any kind of political activity. They cannot go to Jerusalem. So we don't have medical centers in every town, of course. And several times it's also for dialysis. It's a simple procedure where we don't have equipment in hospitals, so people just need to go to another town or to Jerusalem or to Ramallah. And that's why several people just died. If anyone decides to go to any place for any reason, you can never plan for your trip. It may take me, for example, 10 minutes to get to Jerusalem, or 3 hours. Who knows? So every single aspect of our lives is affected by the wall. Our hopes for a peaceful future, for an independent state, our economic life, our daily life, and all our needs for schools, hospitals, etc. So everything is affected by this ugly wall.
My name is Karim. I'm a refugee living in this camp. I've been working with children, and I left the camp, and I came back recently, and I saw the wall. One of the things which we are suffering, we were trying to solve one of the suffering of the children during our work with children being volunteers there, is to find a solution from the fact of their being inside the street of the camp, which is real narrow, real high, and we thought that it makes a big problem in their selves, in their way of thinking, in their way of looking toward the future. But when I came back, I was shocked from the fact of having this new wall. most of the world, most of the people would think about the limits, would think about how much lands we will lose, how much land they will win. But I think it's not the most thing that's worth to think about. It's worth more to thought about is the fact that children will lose something. You know, when you look toward the wall, it restricts your future. You know, your eyes need to have view that goes forward, because it reflects something inside you, because ourselves, our personality, our everything, we made it for ourselves, is a reflection from what we hear, what we listen, and mostly from what we see. Having this wall in the camp means closing the life of the child, because inside the camp we have no playing ground. We have something in the school, in the Norway school, but when it's closed, it's done. So children in their free time, they used to go inside. I mean, inside means behind the wall. By the way, no one knows where is inside and where is outside. But I mean, the other side of the wall. But closing this side means closing the use of the free time of the child. And I believe even having a door to go inside the wall will not give benefits anymore. Having a playing ground inside the camp, maybe we'll think about demolishing one home one home or two and having a playing ground for children, but it's not the benefit. We need some open area, open space, giving the children the chance to have green land like what we have inside there. That was our only choice, and we thank them closing that.
The Israeli occupation has not made life easy for many people in Palestine. Now, especially Bethlehem area, because Bethlehem depends a lot on tourism, and tourism in a way it's connected to culture. So a lot of the tourists have stopped coming to Bethlehem because of the Israeli occupation on Bethlehem, but also because the Israelis are not allowing tourists to enter Bethlehem through the checkpoints. So the cultural life, the tourist life in Bethlehem has suffered so much during the last 50 years, not only the last intifada, because the last intifada from 2000, the kind of difficulty changed, but the difficulty has been here for almost now 54 years on the Palestinian areas. I've been doing a lot of work also in areas which have been affected terribly by the wall, and I remember that last year we had an experience when we went to Qalqilia and Tulkarem and Jenin area, and we wanted to do workshops with different children in different schools on the effect of the wall on their lives. And for me this was a very hard experience, because I haven't had an experience of going through the wall to go anywhere, because in Bethlehem, although the wall has started to be, it's built and you can see it, but we don't have to go through the wall to go somewhere yet. So in Qalqilia and Tulkarem and in Jenin, when we went there, for us it was a very, very difficult experience because we're not used to it yet. So queuing in the morning at the gate with the children and with the teachers and with the farmers, for hours, for nearly like 2-3 hours we were there. I saw that the children have got used to the idea, but for me it was it made me very angry, and I wanted to do something and I couldn't, so I felt also helpless. And seeing the children have patience to queue and wait at the gate until the soldiers open the gate made me think that this is not a life for children. Children should not go through such an enormous pain and difficulty to go to their school. They're only going to school, which is a normal act for children all over the world. But for them to go to their school, they had to cross this gate and walk through the military to be able to get to their school.
استنى خليكم هناك.
Now, the problem is they must open the soldiers the door at 7 o'clock in the morning for the students, because the students, they must have their final exams, and now until now it's 8:30 and nobody opened the door. They just come here every time, but they don't open the door for the student to have their final exams.
قالت له بايش؟
انا ما جاش متعجب بدي اشوف
كيف لا يكاب؟
انا متعجب بيهم اليهود مثل سيد صالح ولاد
روحوا لهناك لورا الباب كمان شوي. روحوا لهناك ورا الباب. ممكن يحكي معنا عشان نحكي عن
احنا جاهزين.
وين مدرستك انت؟
هاي
طورة هون. كلياتكم على نفس المدرسة؟
انا عندنا في يعبد.
في كم طالب عندنا 8 10 هيك 10 طلاب بيعبد.
في اثنين
واحد اللي يحكي.
اثنين اللي بالجامعة
افهموا.
كلياتهم بطورة.
طيب ماشي، هلا بس نخلص مع الاختيار هون بنسوي المقابلة كمان معك.
ان شاء الله.
وانا طالب انا عم بحب الناس بيعبد.
يا عم شو هذا صرنا ساعتين هنا.
يلا طالبين العلم.
امتحانات شو هذا؟
امتحان كل يوم اجي
روحوا.
هو الهدف. الحقائب. حلو الممكن. هلا. وين فوق؟ احمد رد يا محمد فين؟ احمد انا بعمل معاه مقاربة.
From Italy? From Italy? From Italy. English.
Yes, you have a passport, something?
Yeah. You like to see it?
From a journalist, something?
كيف
حالك؟ Forbidden to take picture. Okay? Forbidden.
They can't
I remember a very clear, it's a cruel and funny story that happened that day. On the other side of the wall, there was a donkey with an old man, and we waited and waited and waited and waited, and the gate was not open. So I was looking at the donkey and the old man, and suddenly the donkey fell on its back and started shaking its legs in the air and its hands in the air. And I thought, and the old man was trying to calm the donkey, to make him think, calm down. And I thought even the donkey got fed up of the waiting, and he cannot take it anymore, and he's doing something. Of course, he's not punished because he's a donkey. But if one of the children or one of the people who were queuing at the gate that day did something, they would shoot at him. But because it's a donkey, he was allowed to express himself and to express his anger. So I felt maybe we should become donkeys. Maybe it's easier to be a donkey than to be a Palestinian.